Now we just have to find his brother, Charlie Babbitt. And that took over a year. At the time, Tom Cruise was not the big star that he's become. In fact, the movie that he had done just prior to Rain Man was a movie called Cocktail. He played a bartender and flipping the bottles and, you know, not the most important movie that was ever made, right? And he's young. He's 25 years old, and Dustin Hoffman is 50 years old. And I'm thinking, this isn't going to work. Nobody's going to believe they're brothers. I mean, the age difference is crazy. This just goes to show that even the master teacher can be wrong. I was wrong. When you see that scene where they're coming down the escalator in their matching suits, brothers, they look alike. You know, they don't look alike, but they look alike. Because what the audience has done, see, audiences are amazing. Just like they can hook into like that man on the bicycle who's nobody and care about him, you know, they can hook into this story about these two brothers and suspend any disbelief they have that there's 25 years between the two of them. Movies are magical when you do it right. Magic just happens.
莫洛老师您好。是这样的，我在写作当中呢，经常会遇到这样一个困难，就是说会在结构当中，在某一种结构和另一种结构当中，就是摇摆不定，就是两边选择都很困难。我想知道您在写雨人的时候，有没有这样的经历？在以后的写作当中，是不是也经常遇到？是怎么处理的？还有，我想能讲一个具体的就是例子，就有一个故事，就是一位妻子照顾瘫痪的丈夫，照顾了20多年，她的丈夫是什么都不能动，这个故事让我很感动，但是我总是写不好它。您能在现场大概构思一下，如果您写这个故事，会怎么写吗？好，谢谢。
Well, first of all, I charge for my services. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I didn't quite get the first part of the question about the two structures, but I don't believe there are two structures. I mean, look, everything I said today, you can show me an example in a movie where what I said is wrong. You know, you can show me a movie that's based on a 4-act or a 5-act structure. You can show me a movie about a character we really don't care about. You know, like Gordon Gekko in Wall Street, whose goal is money. Remember, he said greed is good. Sometimes we're just fascinated to watch villains, you know, and what I said does not apply probably to horror movies. I don't know if it applies to porno. With my wife here, I'm not going to admit it, even if I did know. But the story that you, so anyway, yes, just finishing that thought. These are principles. These are general ideas, general truisms. They usually apply. They usually work. And young people are always showing me their experimental film where they broke 9 out of the 10 rules that I've mentioned. And of course, they love their film, and it doesn't matter whether I like it or not. So I'm not trying to say there's a structure or a form that is perfect for everything. It's just most things. And why would you want to start your film career and experimenting with that when you're probably not going to fail, or when you're probably going to fail? So, you use a classical structure and stick to that, and then and be inventive around that. Now, the story that you mentioned, I believe you said it was a woman taking care of a man who was like a quadriplegic. Was that correct? Could not move, something like that. and you didn't make it work. Well, first of all, you have to decide whose story is it. Is it the man who can't move? I mean, he's the one that we mostly care about. Rain Man, the movie Rain Man, was that Rain Man's story? No, it wasn't. Rain Man did not drive the story. He did not drive the car. He did not drive the plot. Tom Cruise did, which is why that role is so important. And if anybody got an Oscar, perhaps it might have been Tom. But the sympathy is not in that role. It's in the Rain Man role, so we all understand that. And that could be the case of the example you gave me. If you're trying to use the hero, the main character, as the person who can't move, you're kind of screwed, because they can't express their will. They can't do anything. They're just a victim. So if you look at it as the wife's story, if I've got the facts of your example right, now you've got a heroic character capable, because she's got all these choices. Does she go to work and hire somebody to take care of her husband? She might want to do that, because then she can afford better care. But then a stranger is taking care of her husband. A stranger is feeding him. A stranger is cleaning him, putting him in diapers, whatever the man required. And the dignity that the man would lose may be more important to the woman. So you have difficult choices for her to make. And as she makes them, and the story goes on, and we start to see her pain and suffering, and realize just the horrible situation she's put in, we identify with her. All the things I said earlier, we start to invest our emotions in her journey. And so at the end of it, she has to go to the end of the line, and maybe in this case it's the husband who dies and the story is over, because her journey is over, her burden is taken care of. But I can tell you this, we would not be happy if she just said, well, I'm really not able to take care of him, so I'm going to put him in a home where doctors can take care of him. And, because that's not satisfying. That's not what we would want for ourselves. Next question.
Hi, Mr. Morrow. Thank you very much for your excellent and wonderful lecture.
Thank you.
What your talk let us rethink and realize what the movie is, and what purpose we make a movie, and what we lead. I think my question is, I think I had better to speak English, Chinese.
Go
Other
for it. Yes. Yeah, because they need to hear.
Better.
Yeah.
刚才您提到，就是我们在这个 Rising Star Direct Project 的时候， 为什么我们要做这个电影？那么，在中国呢，可能很多的年轻人认为这个是一个很好的职业，是很光彩，而且呢还带来很好的收入，这是一个很好的工作。那么中国的电影呢，也常常使我们感觉到，电影似乎就是 make a joke， 也可以弄得很有兴趣，或者说一个简单的故事，也可以成为一个电影。但是呢，您今天跟我们讲的时候呢，使我们认识到，这不是一个 story， 或者仅仅是一个 little story。那么我可否理解，就是真正能够動人心魄的这种电影呢，应该说是一个 big event， 是一个一个系列的事件组成的故事。那么这就要求导演呢，需要很多的磨练，人生的经历，还有很多自己的挣扎，还有很多自己的故事。那么这样的话呢，才可以把这个电影做好。那么我现在有个问题呢，就是我有个朋友啊，best friend who is a medical doctor and he has a successful career. Oh, sorry， 对不起， 我刚才又说了，他是一个 professor and also he went 对不起啊，我还是用中文吧，因为让他们懂。Could you please put it？ 那么他现在有一种想法，就是面对着现代的这个电影呢，感觉到就是怎么样的去打动人的心肺，怎么样的调动起人们从悲天悯人的情怀。他发现他是一个 neurologist， 所以呢，他发现呢，在人的大脑之中呢，有一些功能区是特别与这个关系相连接的。因此呢，他创造了一个这个神经电影学。所以呢，我想问一下，就是 non-professional background， 就是没有这个电影事业的这种经历没有这样的这背景，可否能够成为电影人？
Okay, I got it. The answer is yes. I was kidding, sorry. It was too easy. Look, it sounds like your friend has a very successful career. He's probably not got the time to really devote to what I'm asking these people to do, which is to not just put your toes in the water, okay? I need you to dive to the bottom of the pool and hold your breath for 2 minutes. It's going to be really hard. I would just guess that your friend, he doesn't need this that much. He tried. That's good. I mean, I admire him. If he read Aristotle and Robert McKee and maybe listened to some of what I had to say and followed it, he'd have a better chance of success. But then there's this other thing called talent. Talent. We haven't mentioned talent, have we? Because we're not sure how much we have until we get into it. Just because somebody wants to be a director or a writer or an astronaut or anything else doesn't mean they're going to do it. They got to do all the things we talked about that the hero does in a movie, and then they also have to have the talent. Where does that come from? I don't know. Does that come from God? Does it come from, I don't know. I mean, I can't read a book and memorize it. Nobody can, except for one guy. Probably nobody can do what Steven Spielberg has done in his career. except for him. But a lot of us can do as much as we can do, and we just use the talent. That's the main thing. And you'll find out soon enough whether it will take you to the end of the line. If it doesn't, stop, beating the dead horse, as we say. Find something else, like become a politician.
“您好，我想问一点，就是说，很多影片的来源于生活，然后我觉得生活本身不像电影那么具有戏剧性。刚才那位提问者有一点我很赞同，就是像我们这些年轻人本身是缺乏生活经验的，那么如何就是说编造出既符合常理，然后又可以震撼人心的故事？谢谢。
A really good question, and I remember, being young and feeling like, what do I have to say, And I was just naive enough to just do, like I said, do that thing about Bill without really imagining it would become a movie or anything. So I guess being lucky might have something to do with it. But remember this, you may not have all the life experience that you need, but these aren't documentaries we're making. Actually, somebody's going to make a documentary in the group, I guess. But I'm speaking obviously about drama here today, and you have to sometimes just make it up, That's what your imagination is there for. And don't just copy other movies. I don't really see a lot of movies. It's kind of embarrassing, when I'm asked, well, what do you think about so-and-so? And, well, I haven't seen that yet, but I will. And I don't like to kind of like, I guess, flood my brain with other people's movies and ideas. I'm afraid, without knowing it, I'll just take something or copy it, something successful. So, there's a danger of being too much of a movie geek, where you just see every movie, and maybe you don't give enough time to just discover on your own something that is, as you said, going to come out of life rather than another movie. But you get to make stuff up, You get to lie, in effect. I remember when I was little, I think I'm a pretty good storyteller, but I was really good when I was young, because my mother would ask me, what happened to your clothes? Oh, you mean these holes? Okay, well, here's what happened. And then I would tell some, tall tale, and my mother, bless her, was, encouraging enough where if the lie was good enough, she let me go. And, look, what you need to do in the middle of your movie, once we've set this up correctly, is you just throw obstacles in front of the character. He or she has a goal, they want something, you can come up with those things that, they have to, the hoops they have to jump through, the rings of fire, whatever it happens to be. And they're not always physical. Mostly in a good movie, the obstacles, the struggle, are internal ones. Doubt. Am I good enough? The singer about to go on stage, having heart palpitations. American Idol. Oh, my parents. Oh, everybody, all the money. Ah! They can't do it because it's just too much. Go to that level and then bring it down just a little so your character can get over the hurdle. You have to know, like I said earlier, where to set the bar. With Bill, it was just when he learned to use a bus, when he got on the bus and he put his money in And he took his seat, and he rode to work. The audience is, yes, Bill! Fantastic! Because they knew how hard that was for him to do that. So that's just as important as, mowing down, 10,000 enemy with the, and then you got one, then your gun jams, so you got to use, and then the hand grenade, and all of that, it's the same thing as Bill riding a bus. Set the bar as high as you can, and that's what you have to do to make a story work in terms of the struggle. And if you're having a difficulty, think about the struggle. Make sure you've got that nice and high and tight. Next question.
老师您好，然后呢，我们都很喜欢您《雨人》这部电影，而且呢也特别喜欢雨人这个角色，尤其是当他在那个赌场里边赚了很多钱的时候。然后呢，当然，但是如果雨人在中国的话，那么我想他会死得非常惨。假如我在中国写了一个中国的雨人，然后假如我在中国写了一个中国的雨人，然后让他的弟弟把他抛弃了，然后让他流浪街头，或者说最后他被狗咬死了。那么如果这部拍成电影的话，上映的话，那我想我会死得比雨人还惨。这就是两国这个意识形态和创作环境的一个差别和差距。我就想请问您对我们面对这种困境的创作者有什么建议，或者说对我国这个剧作审核体制有什么严厉的建议，或者说是批评吧？谢谢。
I understand your question two ways. One is you're being critical of your own country, and that's something you have to change. Second thing I have to say is I don't think it's going to be as hard as you think it is, because if it was, Rain Man would not have worked here. You would not have seen that movie and felt something. So, it's not like we're that far apart, but sometimes, change is slow, and sometimes it needs to be sped up. It's easy to dismiss, persons with handicaps and disabilities because they're powerless. They can't really vote, they can't really protest, they can't really do anything other than suffer. This is not something that has always been in the U.S. either. I told you Bill was in an institution for 44 years, right? That was no picnic. So, look, if China can do what it's doing economically, it certainly is capable to do more in what you raised, and I hope they do.
老师你好，我有一个问题，也许非常的个人化，也许也会侵犯到您。是这样子的，我想请教一下您，您在您的创作过程当中的时候，有没有遇到过这样的情况？就是您在创作剧本的时候，会有一个情景，或者说这个故事让你非常难以自拔，也许它非常的感伤，就比如说或许是关于您的亲人或怎样，然后你开始创作这个故事的时候，你就变得慢慢的沉浸这样的情感当中出不来，然后你无法完成这个故事， 然后你甚至不知道要怎么做，然后这个时候你会怎么样去做，并且继续完成它？谢谢。
No, your question does not bother me. It's really a very honest question, isn't it? Because when you first start writing or directing, you're going to have the doubts, and you're going to run into problems you haven't solved before, and the temptation is going to be to quit or get mad at people. A lot of times we like to take our anger out on other people when it's really us not liking ourselves. But, you know, getting too far into a project, I don't think that's a problem. I think you get all the way in as far as you can get. The thing that will get you out is the structure. You know, you follow the structure and you realize that certain things have to happen at certain stages of the movie or the screenplay. And when you know that and you've got to do it, I think you're smart enough to figure out a way to do it. I really do. And so, you dream, right? At night, you have dreams. They're pretty interesting. Yeah. Mine are insane, you know? And when I dream, I never know what's coming next, but everything seems to be shot very well, edited very well. There's, you know, I open a closet, there's my, you know, somebody, a ghost or something. You'll have all the talent in your brain. Stop telling yourself you don't know how to do it. Dream. Dream with your eyes open. You can do it.
喂，首先是给那个主持人一个意见，因为就是能够发扬一些国际主义 gentleman 的精神，让女同胞们多发言，因为本来的女同胞就不是很多，谢谢。然后thank you Barry，谢谢你给我千里迢迢给我们分享了你的经验。我有3个比较实用一些的问题，第一个是关于。我会缩短。第一个是关于编剧流程方面的，因为据我所知，就是好莱坞有一种编剧的方式是一种 teamwork 的方式，就是有人是写梗概，有人负责写对话。那具体它是怎样一个操作的？有没有一些经验可以分享一下？那第二个就是我非常喜欢好莱坞讲故事的方式，尤其是他对观众的那个心理节奏控制得很好。就是比如说一开始前面有一个大的那个场面爆炸或者撞车，那后面就会跟着一个romantic 的一个场面让你舒缓一下，然后接着当你放松的时候又有一个很强的一个冲击进来了。就是我想有没有这一方面的一些经验能够给大家分享一下。第三是就是说像功夫 Panda， 很多现在的好莱坞电影都会加入一些中国的元素。那么如果现在比如说在座的新锐导演里面有一些 director 或者剧作者，他想讲一个国际化的中国魔幻故事的话，跟好莱坞有哪一些可以合作的渠道？好，这就是我的所有问题。再次感谢您的发言，谢谢。
Thank you. There is there's a difference between the way a script is written in the U.S. and the way it's written in China that I have seen. I've only seen a couple of Chinese scripts translated into English, so I could compare the two. And well, in the U.S., first of all, the screenplay might be rewritten by other people. So, in fact, often is. But we don't break it up into somebody writes dialogue, somebody writes, you know, action, but it's usually in a drama, it's the voice of, or the mind of one writer, you know, he or she with a vision. And then, if the director comes on and feels that he or she wants to change that vision, and the writer does that work, or the writer says, no, you'll ruin it, and then they find another writer, whatever. But in China, what I've seen is that there is, it's more like what we call a treatment, where it's not all the actual dialogue and then the actual direction of the necessary action to finish the scene, but it's sort of suggested. Like, for instance, I read the treatment and somebody said it was a script, and it came to a part where they said, and then the guys come into the door, into the room, and they fight. And that's all it said. And they fight. Now, I don't do action, but if I were writing that, I would say, the door opens, so-and-so comes in, looks around, turns, and sees coming down from above, so-and-so. He lands on his neck, they go to their knees, they stand up, they square off, he throws a punch, and you kind of like detail it like this, through instead of they fight. Because there was another part where, and I understand action sequences are often choreographed by specialists, especially if you've got like kung fu and this sort of thing, you need specialists. But I also read in the same treatment something where he comes home, his wife is there, and they get into a big argument. Well, over what? Or, what are they saying? This is so important. If they get into an argument about money, or she burnt the dinner, or she's having an affair, I mean, what's the argument about? And I don't see how actors could just show up and start to argue. But now maybe I'm not being fair. Maybe like the scripts I told you I first got years ago, they weren't that good. But the screenwriter's responsibility in a script is to say every word that is spoken, and to describe every action of every scene, and describe the location, important props, all of those things, and then wait for the director to come on to change all of that. But that's a job. So I think we have very different systems right now. If what I'm saying is true, so I don't think it's going to be easy to do Chinese-American co-productions with two different systems. And I think that we'll have to find a way to either make some compromises or decide if one is better than the other. Now, China has 5,000 years of history, I'll give you that, but we have a longer film history. And I think we've got some things that we can share. That's why I came.
是吗？再去，那完了以后给我哈。
老师您好，我是杨艺黎。我今天就是您刚才讲了很多成功的例子，然后我特别希望您跟我们分享一次，您或许不太成功的一次经历，比如说您的一个剧本。您的一个剧本就是有没有别人不太满意，然后您会怎么处理？最后这个剧本的结局怎么样？谢谢。
Yes. Every screenwriter has a shelf in their office with scripts that they wrote, that they poured their heart and soul into. that did not get made. And I have probably more than my share. Who's to say? You know, sometimes your script is read by a 22-year-old niece of a studio executive who doesn't like it because she likes something else, and they say no. You know, you never got a fair hearing. Sometimes you've written a subject that, this has happened to me, where I turn in the script and a movie comes out that's kind of like it, and then the studio says, well, it's too similar. And then, so that goes on the shelf. But for me, I found if you live long enough, and the script is good, you can dust it off and clean it up and update it and put a new title on it, and you can sell it again because they change. And most scripts, you know, like I was thinking of a script I have. I said, well, you know, that'd be perfect to do here. And it's like, you know, if I was Chinese, I would have written it for here, but I'm not, so I didn't. And it's like, that wouldn't be hard to do, because the human condition, you know, is pretty much the human condition. And while some stories are specific to a place for a reason, you know, I can't take the rape of Nanking and do it in Texas. But I can do a story of, you know, a human drama between people almost anywhere. So I still have hope for those scripts on my shelf, you know. And if they don't get made, well, I'll make sure my wife doesn't throw them away, but gives them to my grandchildren and make them read it. Last.
Dear Barry， 让我先用英文跟他问一下，所以他可以有时间想。好，谢谢。那个I've been always bothered me by the structure of screenwriting, because I'm a student of Frank Daniel, a great advocate of, you know, he's from a Czech school, but all his students, including David Finch, no, they all stray away from the classical, you know, 3-act structure and do their own very unique filmmaking. So I was wondering, throughout your career, did you ever come to a point, say, toss away those principles, say, screw that, I'll just do whatever, make a story and characters shine, and just forget about the 3-act structure? Or does the film come to your way, say, oh, it's great, it just you know, break all the rules and still work, like Tree of Life or Kubrick film, you know, like his Vietnam film, it eluded me. It's only 2-act structure. 我就说问他那关于结构的问题，他有没有可以把那个，因为在美国很多的学的都是非常严格的。OK， 好，谢谢。
Well, you and I can talk about this later because I know you, and I think you're wrong. Frank Daniel would, I think, rubber stamp almost everything I said. I don't think that you're correct there, but that's what we should talk about. And what I said earlier about even if you are right and I'm wrong, yes, you can question the structure about screenwriting. You can question the structure about architecture or painting. Picasso said, to hell with the rules. You know, to hell with, you know, with naturalism. And he said, I'm going to paint in a Cubist style. And he became one of the most famous. You can always do your own thing, but you do it at your peril. I don't think people's DNA are wired universally to accept, you know, the Picasso version of a movie. and it doesn't come naturally to us. Artists are supposed to challenge, you know, the rules and break the boundaries and everything. But there's a reason Steven Spielberg is the greatest film director, because he tells an old-fashioned story well, and that's all I'm trying to do. I think that's the last question, so, but I think our hosts are going to come on stage and kick me off or something.
No.
哦
今天请大家注意哈，巴瑞莫罗先生的嗓子一直不是很舒服，然后他一直坚持着给咱们大家讲完所有的课程，所以请大家再次用掌声感谢他。Thank you。好，下面的时间我们留给我们的班主任崔永元先生。
这个巴瑞先生昨天感冒了，身体非常不舒服。然后昨天晚上我们晚宴请他，因为他身体特别不好，我们的意思就是说，要不然他别参加这个晚宴了。他在房间里，我们把饭菜给他送到房间里啊。你猜他怎么说啊？因为他说我知道你们饭桌上那个更丰富啊。在跟他聊天的时候，我觉得他脑子里有无数的故事。我在想，我们和他的区别啊。你比如我现在手里同时在写着10个电影剧本。这个电影剧本通常是我的一段经历，或者忽然看到的一件事啊。比如我丢了20个耳机。我要把它拍成一个上下集的电影。但是和这个巴瑞莫洛先生交流以后，我觉得电影其实不是这样的。这个电影不是一惊一乍。其实他也会有好多感受，我不知道他刚才给你们讲了以后，说讲了没有？说他去长城的时候风很大，陪他的这个小抖油差点被风吹到山底下去，他一把他拽住了。他拽住他的时候，他就想起了一个电影剧本。他说要拍美国的一个富人，一个老头，他很有钱，然后他不到长城非好汉嘛，所以他租了一个军大衣。一个帽子上面还带着红五星啊，然后他爬到了长城，就被风吹了下去。当他醒来的时候，是一个北京的一个土生土长的一个老头救了他。他在山底下捡到了这个美国的老头，把他捡回到了家里啊。2个人语言不通，但他们一起度过了几天不平凡的日子。
I was drunk when I told him that story.
我的意思是我们通常会把这么小的一个素材做成一个大的电影，而在这个巴瑞莫洛先生的这个笔下，它只是一个素材。也许有一天，在他的剧本，在他的电影里，你就会发现有一个情节，或者有一个人的情绪，可能有这个影子。这个说明什么呢？说明我们每天有很多积累，但是当它成为一个电影剧本的时候，并不像我们眼睛看到的那么直观、那么简单、那么容易啊。比如雨人，他刚才可能已经给你们讲了，他亲口对我说，他了解的这个雨人的资料用到电影里只用了10%。你们能想到为什么他只用10%吗？因为他想把这个电影拍成10集，这样就可以拿10个奥斯卡奖，啊。那么他说他注意到雨人的时候，发现他看书跟我们不一样，他倒是咔咔咔就这样翻着就可以看书啊，然后他可以全记住。我说他知道跟中国有关的内容吗？他说有人考过他，比如说一个皇帝。他可以背出这个皇帝被历史记载的所有的妃子的名字。 但是听上去这个情节有点猎奇，所以我们在《雨人》的电影里没有看到。那么我对这个《雨人》非常感兴趣，我想过，我说如果是我和我们的新锐导演拍《雨人》这个电影，我们会抱着什么样的目的？他最后又会达到什么样的效果？我说可能是2点。第一点是，我们会流眼泪，觉得雨人很惨。第二点，我们想要个账号给他捐钱。我们通常拍这样的电影，但是巴瑞莫勒先生写的这个雨人，让我们看不出这样的感觉来。我们只是觉得世界上还有这样一种人，他跟我们一样，只不过他用他自己的方式活着。每个人都有自己的特点，每个人都有一个完美的故事。现在我告诉你，我正在写的《寻找耳机》的这个电影的结局。刚才工作人员告诉我，已经找回来了19个。所以这个电影的题目大家都知道，叫“还差1个”。我现在试着总结一下这个巴瑞莫勒先生关于电影的这个理念啊，这个因为我问过他啊，我说，在你看来电影最重要的是什么？他说记住，电影最重要的是3要素：故事，故事，故事。
That's right. That's right. 谢谢。谢谢。
现在请巴瑞莫勒先生写上您的名字在上面啊。这是给我们新锐导演的奖。
I do know, oops. My last comment is, I do know what my name means in Chinese, and it's cat food. That's what I was told. Is this correct?
特别幽默，我这耳机里没声音。
我来说哈，这个他的大家都看到他那个姓呢，姓的是，就是翻译是莫罗，但是英文呢是 moral，所以他说呢，他的名字呢是按中文来说，普通话是猫肉，所以是 cat food。
cat food，
不是，在中文普通话里是没落，是好词啊，
说明曾经有钱过。
刚才在这个休息室里，巴瑞莫勒先生可能还在担心自己身体的情况。我说，当你看到这些新锐导演的时候，你的病马上就会好。你们今天看到了他，状态特别好，他见到你们特别高兴啊。
Thank you for all you're doing. It's fantastic.
这是我们看到的情况。但是作为一个电影，按照他讲的这个编剧的理论哈，这个不完美，他应该继续病下去啊。他可能感冒会加重，我们甚至会担心，会不会这个感冒还转成别的病啊？但是当他要离开中国上飞机的时候，忽然他的病好了。他刚才讲的剧本是不是应该这样做？所以你看，剧本哈，总要比生活更艰难一点。剧本中的人物克服生活中的困难，总要比生活中更坚强一些，更有力一些。记住这个。有一天，当你们拍电影成功的时候，不要忘记有一个大师冒着病给你们好好的讲了一课，然后你们终身受益。他的名字叫巴瑞莫洛。
我们现在把这个 Barry Morrow 的这个美丽的夫人请上来，一起合个影，在这边在座。
其实，在美国有一个家喻户晓的秘密，巴瑞·莫勒先生的剧本是他的妻子写的。